Yeah, we're recording. We're going. All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, we are live and recording here from Ottawa after day one of Volleyball Nations League. First day of Volleyball Nations League is in the books. Rob, our predictions yesterday were terrible.
So bad.
I think we went 0-4. I don't think.
I think Iran beat China.
Okay, yeah,
we didn't even touch that.
No, we didn't touch that. But let's just collectively say that we would have both picked Iran to beat China.
We would have.
Yeah. That's a no-brainer.
Tough day for the boys, eh?
Tough day for the boys.
We had a brutal session of predictions yesterday, but I mean, the tournament hadn't started yet. There were a lot of unknowns, as there are with any tournament that hasn't started yet. But this is why you play volleyball on the court and not on paper. You know, there was so many, at least in the two matches that we saw here. Because we might as well touch on the one that we didn't see. That's the USA beating Slovenia 3-0 in Brazil.
With James Shaw on the court.
Sometimes. I had a little bit of the game on when we were here watching Canada. I was like looking at it briefly on the iPad. I couldn't believe the scoreline, but it looked like Aaron Russell was awesome. It looked like Kyle Ensing was really good, and it looked like Slovenia was just not. And this includes the uniform karma because their new jerseys are hot garbage.
They are terrible.
Bad.
They were bad. Like no offense, your new Mizuno jerseys aren't
also bad.
Aren't it?
Also bad.
It almost seems to me like USAV was expecting to be with Adidas, and then like a deal fell through, and that they had to go to a Mizuno last minute. And Mizuno's just kind of like threw stuff together, but maybe I'm wrong.
That would be par for the course. Anyway, yeah, I'll go later tonight, watch through the whole USA match, and try and pull some conclusions out of it because I'm really curious. I was dead wrong about that. I was extremely low on the USA roster last night.
No stats up yet.
Okay, no stats up yet? Okay.
Yep.
I was extremely low on the USA roster last night as we were doing the show and yesterday. I did not expect them to beat Slovenia. I thought that Slovenia was going to come in and be really good even without two or their three outside hitters, and I was dead wrong about that.
Well, I do feel like whenever you have Rock Mozic, like you should be in the the realm of winning. Within the possibility of winning.
And it doesn't seem like they weren't in the possibility of winning, but I mean the scorelines were not particularly close, and I haven't looked at any stats, but sometimes Mozic has bad passing games, and then your team just can't be as good if you're just throwing him high balls all the time. I also saw, we checked the Discord really quick. I barely know anything about this game. Sounds like the U.S. blocked the ball phenomenally well too.
Nah, we'll have to wait to see the stats. Maybe watch it a little later too.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Definitely going to check out that one. But Rob, let's talk about the games here. And you know what? Let's just start with the game that you made your live commentating debut on, Serbia versus Bulgaria. And the first set we were pretty right on.
Yeah.
Bulgaria came out strong.
8 blocks in set number 1.
8 blocks in set number 1. And then after that, it was all Serbia. All Serbia.
So the key moment was that. So first of all, Bulgaria went up 5-0 in set number 1.
Yeah.
Like instant 5-0 start on a float serve, including 3 gigantic stuff blocks and like immediate like seizing of the momentum from literally first serve. We saw Alex Nikolov the whole match. He's 18 and looked a lot older than 18.
You could not tell that he was a straight up rookie out there. You could not tell. He plays so well. He's so smooth. He's a big body out there.
He fits right in.
Like
man.
he fits right in at the international level. He serves tough. He's like a big block. He has different shots offensively. He passes. His passing to me was one of the biggest surprises of all. He moves really well.
But I think Serbia figured that out, and that's what I wanted to get to because Bulgaria jumped on them so fast. It was 5-0. There were 8 stuff blocks in the first set. And Kolikovic, who's Serbia's coach, pulled a handful of the starting wings. Like he pulled Petkovic, he pulled one of the left sides, and I think he pulled a middle too. Then when the second set started, he went back to the guys that started the first set, which I mean, on the broadcast, I was really surprised by that. Because like Petkovic, for example, had a brutal start. He made like 3 straight hitting errors and got housed 2 of those. Brutal start. Like they just had a really bad start. But then I kind of talked myself into it live on the air. Like, wait a minute, there's almost no way that they're going to go down 5-0 again. There's also almost no way that Bulgaria blocks 8 balls again in set number 2. Why not, after you've given the starters a little bit of a break towards the end of set 1, why not put them back in and see if they can settle things down? And they did. And we talked about this. This is a Serbian B team at best. You could even maybe call it like a C team. I don't know.
I think that's a little tough.
It is.
Petkovic is up there.
Petkovic is their third opposite in a line of very good opposites. Jovovic is their starting setter. But they totally took command of the flow of the game from point one of set number 2, Serbia did, and never looked back. It's like I looked at the numbers. The blocking numbers were not even close, lopsided in Bulgaria's favor. I mean, you block 8 balls in set 1, that's probably going to happen. I think it was 15-5.
Yeah.
The passing numbers were very similar. The attacking numbers were very similar. The difference when Bulgaria really started to crumble later on was getting aced. Serbia's ace to error ratio was terrific. Kujundžić had 6.
Yeah.
6 aces, including match point. But also it was errors. Like balls hit straight out of bounds. Not even that, but like weird, dumb, goofy errors, like net violations, like ball handling, like center lines, like weird errors that I didn't really understand. And I think that's the difference in like the Serbian volleyball culture just being more structured than Bulgaria's is right now.
Well, Bulgaria is being led by 2 young guys. Like Rado's like pretty fresh
Rado's
out of
24.
Yeah, fresh out of Hawaii, and then you got Nikolov, who's, as we said, 18 years old. They're both impressive, but those are the 2 guys leading them in scoring right now. Rado started out real good. He had 6 points in the first set, and then kind of cooled off a little bit. That ending with only 14. Right, so you need to see him, and you could tell that Serbia was kind of figuring him out too. Right, they started putting a lot more pressure on him on him with their block and really getting into his face, and you could tell that he was starting to get a little bit frustrated with that.
I agree. Serbia, this was, I mean, it's exactly the point. Serbia's team structure, their coaching, their system top to bottom is more experienced in this setting than Bulgaria's is. Bulgaria has a first-year head coach, and I think Serbia outcoached them significantly. The choice to start the original starters again set number 2 after just being blown away in set 1 was a great coaching move. Hindsight's 2020, obviously. But there was one for Bulgaria that I was confused by, and that's taking Martin Atanasov off the court. Now, I know he wasn't all that good, but he's your best player that has been there before. You need him on the floor in Svetan Sokolov's absence to be the guy that's been there before. He doesn't have to light up the stats. You need him on the floor. And when Asparuhov came in, that's when the passing started to break down.
Oh, yeah, that's when Kujundžić was going right at him.
Because that's when Serbia then had 2 targets.
Yeah,
initially, they were really trying to make Nikolov work really hard, and that makes sense. He's 18, and he's really physical. You want to make him work for all of his offensive looks. They tried to stay away from Atanasov because he's awesome. He's been there before. But you take that guy off the court, you bring in Asparuhov, who I've never really liked all that much, and then you have 2 targets. Bulgaria's passing went from the first set where it was right on the money to the rest of the match where it was 3-meter line at best, and that was kind of the difference. That
Absolutely.
was it.
I mean, this is exactly what we talked about yesterday with Serbia too, is that we don't know any of these names. These are all like either like Jovovic, Petkovic, like after that, but like they've got guys. They've got guys everywhere.
Kujundžić, man. I mean, well-deserved MVP of the match. He had 6 aces and
19 points.
19 points, but did kills. He was an all-around good outside
Absolutely,
hitter.
Yeah.
And I had never seen him before.
No, 100%.
And that's the thing about a couple of these rosters. Like, I'm so excited to see Poland tomorrow with some of these names for the same reason, because like we barely know anything about some of these guys.
I mean, I would disagree.
Well, we know.
Name me a Polish guy that you don't know like a little bit of anything about, like Urbanov, right? Because like all of their outsides, you know.
Second libero, the other Shimura I know nothing about. 2 of their backup middles I know nothing about.
Their
backup
second
setter I know nothing about.
So yeah, that's it's not like either of these teams, right? At least we watched a little bit of Plus Liga. It's not like either of us are watching the Bulgarian league or the Serbian league.
We were not watching the Bulgarian league or the Serbian league.
I've watched the Serbian league a little bit, mostly because there's some Canadians in it, but that's about it, you know.
But yeah, I thought that the way that Bulgaria came out with the blocking and with playing what I thought was pretty much their starting lineup was just their approach to this tournament. It was a sense of urgency that their position in the world rankings is going to demand, and Serbia, I mean, this is not their best roster. It's not, and they were still able to get it done anyway. That's the impressive part to me that I was not expecting, and why we play these games on the court, this beautiful, beautiful court here behind us, and not on paper. Because we can look at these rosters on paper and be like, who the heck are all these Serbian guys? And wait a minute, we can kind of piece together a Bulgarian starting lineup.
I think it would also be different too if we had like intimate knowledge. Like if you and I were to talk about B team rosters from Canada and the USA, we could get more in depth into that. We're basing what on paper is just based off of who we know. Right, so we have no, we
don't know.
and we have no, we have no idea about the depth of these countries. We gotta get some like insiders. If you're like a Bulgarian or a Serbian insider, there's one Serbian guy who loves us on YouTube.
I've got a couple Bulgarian fans, mostly on Instagram as well, and
sliding into your DMs,
all the time.
I like it.
It's great, but it's why we play these games on the court, not on paper. And you and I combined know a lot about volleyball. We can't know
everything.
The 30 guys in every national team.
No, exactly not.
So, but now that we have seen these guys a little bit, it's really going to make the rest of the week interesting, and I think that's kind of a segue into the match that we just saw.
Mm-hmm. Well, real quick, I do want to one thing about Bulgaria is that they were really strong and down the middle tonight.
Yes, they were.
With Goraz Grozdanov and Gotsev, both of them were getting big blocks. I mean, 5 for Gotsev, 4 for Grozdanov, right? So if Bulgaria can really activate their outsides and get one of them working on an offensive level that's respectable, getting someone needs to be getting more than 15 points in a 3-set match.
I think that's got to be a Tanasov, and which is why I don't understand why they took him off the court.
Yeah, it was interesting. I would have taken off Nikolov, bring in Asparuhov for him. Then you're going to change youngster for youngster, and you still have your
guy who's been there before. Absolutely. And you need that guy, especially when you're a new coach and you yourself haven't been there before.
You need him. You need an emotional leader on
exactly,
the court, an emotional anchor for the.
So I'm curious to see if Bulgaria adjusts from this. There's no way they can afford to pull a Tanasov again, I don't think. But they've got another option at opposite. I mean, Karyagin played for Monza this year. He's a backup. I still think Rado's probably the better choice. I was also impressed by the insertion of Milan Katic. Speaking of
middle blockers
of Monza guys, he was their Monza's like third left side, like their ball controller character for Serbia. Came in a couple times, like play backcourt rotations, and then really started and pretty much took control of set number 4. It was very much he's an L2. He wasn't putting balls to the floor, but he had great vision. He was hitting shots,
He's still got 7 points off the bench, so that's not bad.
That's a great performance. You put a third outside in off the bench who's a veteran, who's played in Italy, who played for Skra, who's seen it, and he gets you 7 points and does a lot of smart things. Good coaching again.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's jump into the second game. Now, Rob, I will honestly say I think you were a little bit higher on Canada heading into today than I was. Just because I'm very high on this team. Don't get me wrong. I love what I see, but I also know the realities of international volleyball. You know what? We didn't see the same team tonight that I saw on Saturday against France. We didn't even see the same team tonight that we saw yesterday in practice, right? A lot of tentativeness. We talked to Benjo at length. I did a post-game interview with him, but then we also chatted with him as well, and just talking about how they didn't really execute their game plan fully, and that some of the guys, were a little frozen in the spotlight. Some of the older guys were maybe reverting back to their older habits, and all of that stuff is to be expected.
Right.
But overall, just a 3-0 loss to Germany and the way it happened, where they were really just not in the game for the first 2 sets, not the way you want to start Volleyball Nations League.
Not at all. And this is a brand new era for Canadian volleyball. You can't expect it to go perfectly from the get-go. However, based on what you and I have seen and what we've talked to the players, we saw practice, we talked to Benjo a lot. We got so much info from them. You saw them on Saturday, play the reigning Olympic gold medalists well. And I think we've already seen enough in the last week or so that we expected a little more than this just now. Germany gets a lot of credit too.
That's one thing. You really have to. They had us figured out all night long.
Absolutely.
They had us absolutely figured out all night long. And I mean, we saw it right off the bat where the first time Howe got set, there was 3 guys on him, right?
Yep.
We saw that how they were just vacuum everything up on their transition game. And Benjo was he said that's one of the keys, is that they were scooping everything on defense, getting to the outside, and either Weber was going hard cross court or Fromm was going high off hands, right? and it was that all night long. But then there was a lot of junky stuff, some tips, some rolls, some off-speed stuff that we weren't picking up on defense, and it's that kind of stuff that really killed us on top of the serve receive. The serve receive was just a mess for us tonight.
It was a disaster, and Germany's was outstanding.
It was stellar.
Very good, and that's not an area of strength that I really expected them to have. Like Julian Zenger is a world-class defensive libero, but I wouldn't call him a world-class reception libero. I mean, Fromm is he's been there before, but that's never been the strength of his game. He's just a big dude that can play on the outside, and I thought Reichert was really good. Linus Weber, who we've seen in Italy be really, really streaky, was terrific tonight.
Weber, I mean, he was into the second set, he was 8 for 10 attacking at 10 points with eight kills and two blocks. So yeah, Weber was absolutely unreal. He ended only with 14 points, which surprises me. He really cooled off that first set. First half of the second set, he was lights out. Then he really cooled off of that. But 18 for Fromm. And I wonder how many of those were clean kills and how many of those were off the
Almost
block.
none of them were clean kills.
None. Yeah.
None. And so that's the thing is all the junk that you were talking about. And Benjo told us just now, if a team's not going to swing, you need to punish them for not hitting the ball as hard as they can. Or if they start to just abuse you high hands, you need to make a team prove that they can put the ball down to the floor offensively to beat you. And the combination of Germany being one step ahead in all those ways, I think that, and then all the weird goofy 50-50 balls went Germany's way as well. That didn't help. But you mentioned you were talking about Serbia and Bulgaria, about how the coaches, even within the span of one match, the Serbian coaches figured Bulgaria out. Benjo said the same thing. Teams may even already have the film from Canada the last 2 days against France, which might even be your fault.
Might be my fault.
Might be our channel. But that's what sets up for the rest of this tournament. It's going to be so exciting to me, is because this is the first we've seen of everybody. Now everybody will have data. They'll have film. They'll
all the data volley for
yes,
everything going on.
all the
Yeah,
numbers,
absolutely.
all of the analytics about the different rotations,
Yep.
and all the different situations that you can pull numbers and strengths and weaknesses out of. Now is when it gets real.
Yeah.
And this is when the system that Canada is going to run is going to get put under even more of a test, because they're going to play France on Friday, who they've now seen twice in exhibition games.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be a lot different.
Totally,
it's going to be
totally
different once Engapeth is out there to play.
And now
instead of just messing
now
around.
Canada feels a little bit of pressure, because I think their whole team, top to bottom, was thinking that this Germany match tonight was a match that they probably should have won.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it wasn't. Maybe it's like a should have win, but it's a must win given where they each other are in the picking order. Like
Yes,
both of these
yes.
teams, if either of these teams, I feel like maybe only one of these teams can make the playoffs. One of these teams can only make the final
agree.
eight.
I don't see both of them doing that.
We're yeah, we know. Thank you though.
We'll go get it. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, we're almost getting kicked out.
We're some of the last people here. It's cool.
Yeah, I mean this is pretty normal for me. But basically what I wanted to say too is what really worries me about tonight is how we got beat up only by the outsides, right? Only
True.
7 combined points down the middle for
Creek and Massa.
yeah,
And,
for Creek and Massa.
They're in the third set. How committed. One was a commit, the other was a great read, and got Massa twice in a row.
Yeah.
And stuff blocked him straight down, and that really made Germany even more wing dominated the rest of the set.
But we also saw him bite on him fully later in that set
that was
too.
I've never seen a commit block like that. The one you're talking about was in extra points,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about extra points in a second.
Exactly.
But Germany passed the ball perfectly, as they did many times, and Howe literally made a full 3-step swing block move to the 31.
Yeah.
And then they
Just
set Reichert.
full commit on him.
They set Reichert on the right in
Yeah.
rotation one-on-one, and he pounded at angle. I couldn't believe that I saw that, and that it probably wasn't. I hope that it wasn't just like a dumb choice that came out of nowhere for Howe. I think that had to have been something that, with data that he was given, that Germany adjusted to situations, and they have Jan
Or
Zimmerman.
maybe it's like a situational thing where he's recognized,
Where-
like
right.
like maybe in both those situations where he got the back-to-back stuff blocks, he's like,
I
this is,
saw it.
yeah, this is that similar
Maybe.
block.
And well, middle blocker at the highest level against the perfect pass is an impossible job. It's literally impossible. Sometimes you guess wrong. But what Benjo was saying to us also, like some of the guys in this Canada team that have been there before, Mar, Hogue, Blankenau,
And Jay.
Slater to a degree, there's so much going on in their heads. This new system is complicated. It's very technical. It's very fast. It's very mentally demanding. And they're only a couple weeks into learning this thing. And these guys, like we talked about with Hogue, with Benjo, and on our show yesterday, there's so much going on in these guys' heads who have played international volleyball for 10 years-ish now, that they're thinking so much.
You're really seeing it with Jay too, where he's reverting to some old school stuff and just kind of some high ball stuff to the outside, and we didn't see kind of the levels of layers that we see. But yeah, back to kind of my outside point that I was trying to make before. 18 points for Frome, 14 for Weber, 14 for Reichard. So they're just tearing us up on the right side, on the outsides, without even really going down the middle. So they're really attacking the wings, and we're seeing them a lot on the left side too, kind of abusing that right side of the court because Sclater's there and he's not a traditional big blocking guy. They're really going at us hard out there, and that's going to be something that we're going to have to adjust to playing France on Friday.
That's a great point. And we've talked so much in this new Canadian team about the offense. We haven't really talked about the defense that much. We talked to Benjo about serving, but we haven't talked about blocking. We haven't talked about backcourt that much. This Canadian team is not a good blocking team.
Yet. I think tonight, it seemed like tonight we were kind of a step behind. We were a step behind on serve receive. We were a step behind on reading. We were a step behind on blocking, and we were definitely a step behind on defense. And partly I think that has to do with, we have to say it's just the inexperience of Justin Louis, right? This Canadian team is used to having a backstopper in Blair Band who really takes care of things, who runs the serve receive, runs the defense, and Justin Louis at time looked like a bit of a deer in headlights. It has to be expected.
That's okay.
It has to be expected. This is a kid who's stepping out of Stanford, stepping out of the NCAA, and straight into the game. He's not like a Nikolov guy who has the experience of living in Europe, so having those high level experiences previously.
Yeah, the U18 Worlds or whatever it was that he was playing. Yeah, he doesn't have that.
Exactly. So let's be honest. Justin Louis got a little beat up tonight. And we know that he's going to bounce back, but you could tell that Germany was going at him, and they would break him a couple times either set. So just a touch behind tonight, and you could tell it almost seemed like we were a clock where one cog is just like a little bit off, and just it's still working, but everything is just taking a little bit long, right? We couldn't build any momentum because of it, and it just seemed really chuggy tonight. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean.
That's the thing about this Benjo team and the way they want to run things is that they must be a quick running system with all the cogs perfectly in place. And they have a plan for when it's not. But the transition game, like the fact that Germany made so many defensive plays and there were so many things about the Canadian offense that Germany expected, where there was no expecting going on the Canadian side. It was
everything that Germany was doing was so textbook, right? It was just high off hands. They weren't doing anything. There wasn't anything to expect.
It was an execution game that they played.
100%.
Yeah.
They executed perfectly all night in all facets of their game.
They deserve a ton of credit. I haven't seen Moritz Reichert play that well ever.
That was a great match by him.
I mean, we like to make fun of Christian Fromm a lot. He played on 2 club teams this year that both got relegated from their respective leagues. He was awesome. Linus Weber is a bit of like a big meathead opposite. He was awesome. Like this German team, I was not very high on this German team yesterday when we were talking about it, mostly because I just don't know. And now we know. Now we know that this team is for real, and Coach Mikhail Winiarski in his debut, that was a well-prepared team that executed what they are good at extremely, extremely well, and they get credit.
Yeah, absolutely. Overall, fantastic night by Germany. Frustrating night for Canada. I was trying to get an interview with Stephen Marr after the game. I asked him. He didn't seem too keen. We didn't get it done, but he did ask me. He's like, "Can I swear in the interview?" And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
"Absolutely, absolutely. Let it all out." Didn't get the interview. We'll get one on Friday. But you could just sense the frustration from Team Canada. And on the other side, it was just smooth sailing for Germany all night long. You know, I hate to say it, but I don't know if some of those guys are going to go to bed right away because I think they still got some energy left. I don't know if we tired them out too much. Not until the third set.
Oof. And speaking of the third set, we got to talk about what the first German match point. So we all thought in this gym that it was over.
Oh yeah, I mean it was a great play. I think we got a dig. Yeah, Mar got a dig, and then we shot it to the outside of the Nick, and Nick just blasted it out of bounds. And
this was 24-23 Germany after Canada had made a very good comeback to even get there.
Yeah, but I mean we were up. We had a good lead. Then we let some errors get to us. We had that. The most terrible ace I've seen in my life. It
was the worst ace serve I've ever seen. Tobias Crick with a lollipop that basically hit the rafters.
Yeah.
With like this horrible middle school level jump spin serve.
And he split it down Nick and Steve too.
Bad.
Mar and Hogue.
That was
so
bad. So yeah, that happened. That was rough. Canada gets a lot of credit for making the comeback to force it to extras, and that ball that Nick sprayed out of bounds. Benjo challenged. We assumed that it was, one of those classic coaching
Mar
players.
came rushing over to Benjo and said, "Challenge." Was a touch. There was a touch.
Get
I
real.
was up. I was walking back to get my camera.
We were
to do
sitting
interviews.
right down here, right behind where we're sitting right now, and Everett was already halfway up back to the media area. I was wrapping my things up. I was ready to walk.
Benjo
up
had
as
already
well.
written down the score on his noteboard.
It was way out, and then sure enough, it caught the inside of Crick's fingertips somehow.
When that happened, I immediately saw in my head like us taking the set. Us coming back because right after that we got the next point too and we took the advantage. Right. And we had the advantage and then Crick's fucking serve brought them back. Right. So frustrating. But in my head I was like, dude, we're gonna come back here. We're gonna win this set and we're gonna get the reverse sweep.
I really thought. I don't know about the reverse sweep, but I was certain after that challenge went your way that Canada was going to come back and win the set.
Yeah, and it just didn't happen. They kind of imploded a little bit. But this is where it's. I feel like this is one of those situations where if you win early, you feel good about yourself. But if you lose early, you go right back to the drawing board and continue growing. I feel like this is one of those growing losses where in a match like this, in a matchup like this at the end of VNL, and a matchup like this come the fall World Championships, this doesn't happen.
I agree.
Right? And even if the slow start happens, they don't make those dumb late set errors like they did in the third set to really lose it.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the part of the totally new system experience that you're going to have to live with. Everybody hates losing. Benjo just told us how much he hates losing. Mar hates losing. Nick Hogue hates losing. You talk to him. Like, these guys hate losing, but it's the first match of VNL. It's the first match of the era. It's not the end of the world. This team studies so much. They learn so much. They get so much out of every
and they got 2 days of
practice. Exactly. They have 2 days now to go to Gatineau, train for 2 days, and then see what they can do against the Olympic gold medalists on Friday. And I know that we will see a better version of Team Canada then.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we hope so because France is a much better team than Germany, right? So that might be an even quicker match. And it sounded like, I won't lie, I was feeling really good about the crowd during this the Serbia-Bulgaria match just because random Tuesday afternoon match. It's pouring rain outside. It's Serbia, Bulgaria, in Ottawa, Canada. So who's going to care about it, right? And there was a decent crowd, but then it didn't. I was expecting it to at least double for Canada's match, and it didn't.
Quite.
And it didn't really. I still think it's better than Louisiana, right?
That's a low bar.
But you know what? I'm expecting more from Ottawa volleyball fans on Friday and Saturday and Sunday.
Me too.
I do know that the ticket sales are pretty good. They're close to being sold out, and once they get sold out, they open up more.
Right.
So let's sell it out. Let's.
And if you don't think it makes a difference,
makes a massive
wait
difference.
until you get here and you can see and feel the difference that it makes. That's my favorite part about being here in person. Again,
oh yeah,
is you can feel
But when you
can feel it.
Like the energy in the gym when Nick went on that serving run in the middle of the third set when he got those 2 aces.
3 in. I think it might have been a 5-point run with 2 or 3 aces.
Yeah, and then when that call was overturned at the end, the energy was palpable in here, and then just got sucked out by Crick Talk's crappy serve.
Well, so all the teams that played tonight are off tomorrow.
They are.
Tomorrow we have 2 matches with 4 brand new teams,
Which is amazing. I love that.
Poland, Argentina,
Awesome.
Italy versus France.
Tomorrow might be my favorite day.
Come on.
Tomorrow might be my favorite day.
Italy versus
also,
France.
Also because Canada isn't playing, so there's no pressure.
Right, yeah.
I just get to watch.
We're just going to have a great time.
Yeah.
And I'm calling both matches. I'm going to be trapped up there in like literally the worst
Are you
seats
doing
in the
both
house.
alone?
No, Claire's with me on the second one.
Okay.
So I'm solo for Poland, Argentina, and then the both of us are doing France versus Italy. But
Okay. Okay, so I'm alone all day tomorrow.
yeah, have fun.
Oh, crap. Okay.
But the cool part about
Who wants
that
to come hang out with
is
me?
as bad as my seats are, like all the way up there, it's truly the worst spot to commentate.
Terrible. Terrible spot.
The worst. Still, those matches, like Poland versus both of those matches, I would expect to be higher level overall than both of the matches today even.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we got the rest of the weekend. Once everybody has played one match and has seen each other, it's only going up from
It's
here.
go time now. It's go time now.
Go time.
Yeah.
So that's about it. We're gonna go
That is
home.
about
We're
it.
gonna go. I'm gonna go rewatch USA because that's a very pleasant surprise to see that they 3-0 beat down Slovenia. I'm stunned by that.
Me too. That's a big one.
And so we'll go process some of that. Maybe put some content out tomorrow. But yeah, this is only the beginning. Day 1 of 6, and we got a lot more coming, eh?
Got a lot more. So if you're not already subscribe to us on Volleyball Source. So come join us on the Discord.
Yeah, I wonder how
Instagram.
my Instagram Live is doing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I set it up. I pressed.
Completely forgot there's an Instagram
Yeah,
live there.
I press go, and we'll kind of see how it goes. So if you guys like some of this stuff, follow both me, our St. Clair One, and Volleyball Source on Instagram.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
Everett's TikTok is popping off. Volleyball Source Instagram.
It is.
TikTok's popping off this week.
It
the
is.
The number of slow-mo clips you already have on your phone is crazy.
Oh yeah, it's my phone is like I have like 128 gigs on this, and that's gonna get filled quick.
Big time.
That's gonna get filled quick.
So if
yeah.
you can't be here, if you can't come to Ottawa, you know where to follow us. We're here literally all week. We're pumping out all kinds of good stuff.
And if you are coming to Ottawa, bring us beers.
Speaking of beers,
It's time. Let's go.
thanks,
Peace,
people.
guys.
We'll
see you tomorrow.